oh gosh, there's some awful days. And I think a lot of people just post the best bits. You have days of torrential rain where you're just riding for 8 hours in pouring rain and not seeing anything. So yeah, there's days where you're like, oh, this is not fun, and you're camping in a flooded field. Like, there's just so many times like that. So look, I think I just had this massive feeling of, this is your dream. Whenever it got hard, I was like, Claire, you've dreamed about this for years. Enjoy the hardness. Do you know what I mean? Because I was just like, you wanted this so bad. So every time it got really shit or hard, I was just, no, like, this is your dream. You're living your dream. So enjoy all of it.
Welcome to Seek Travel Ride, where we share the stories and experiences of people taking amazing adventures by bike. Whether it's crossing state borders, mountain ranges, countries or continents, we want to share that spirit of adventuring on two wheels with our listeners. Hello everyone, just letting you know that this is part one of a two-part episode. Our guest for today, Claire Wyatt's adventure was so monumental and our chat was so lengthy that it was far too long to be shared just as one episode. So this week you are tuning in to part one. It's an amazing adventure I'm sure you're going to enjoy. So let's not delay and get right into it. Hello listeners, Bella Malloy here, host of Seek Travel Ride, and I'm lining up a pretty special episode for you today with my guest being the one and only Claire Wyatt. Now, if you're a fan of the podcast, you will no doubt recognise that name, as I've featured Claire on the podcast quite a number of times. In fact, it was way back in early 2023 when I first chatted with her while she was halfway through an adventure taking her all around and across Australia. We caught up for another episode together to discuss the rest of that impressive journey, then flash back to mid-2024 and Claire and I chatted for a third episode, this time about her adventures journeying through Southeast Asia. Now that episode was recorded the very day before she was due to fly out for her next huge adventure, one that would take her from Mongolia all the way back home again to the UK. I'm a huge fan of Claire. The manner in which she chooses to adventure, the honesty which she shares her experiences with us, and the way she simply does what she says she wants to do. She takes on some bold routes, she sees the world for what it is, and has proved time and time again that solo women can do these incredible kinds of long-distance journeys. Now, I lived vicariously through Claire's journey, watched her in mega landscapes like Mongolia, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkey, Georgia. She experienced all the weather, camped in temperatures as low as minus 20 degrees, and then at the other end of the spectrum endured days of riding through heat waves of 40 degrees Celsius. Equipment failures? Yeah, sure, she's had a fair few of those, but time and time again, there's always been a solution, even when in the most unlikeliest of places. In every country she's visited, Claire has experienced some pretty amazing acts of kindness, and I think she'd agree with me when I say it's these instances which have kept her moving forward. Now Claire's settled back in the UK, and with the benefit of having stayed put for a few months, I'm keen to hear all about it. The highs, the lows, everything in between. Settle in, listeners, grab yourself a cuppa because we're going to be taken on an adventure from Mongolia all the way back to the UK. Claire Wyatt, you absolute dead set legend, welcome back to the show.
Hey Bella, oh my God, I can't believe it's been a few years since our first ever podcast, which is mad. Honestly feels like a bit of a lifetime in those couple of years. Like when you said 2023, I was like, oh my word, it's, lots happened.
I couldn't believe it when I was actually thinking about it, Claire, because I wasn't actually thinking about it in terms of time that's passed. I was actually thinking about it in terms of where on earth you've actually pedalled to.
Mad. It's actually mad to think about.
Oh, I know. Do you actually do that? Do you sort of pause and think about that randomly every now and then?
Yeah, I never did. Like when I was in the zone of the few years, where I was like, okay, next trip. I really was quite bad at stopping and pausing. I was in such like a momentum and like knew what I wanted to be doing, and the next trip was always on my mind. So like to come home now, stop and reflect, it's so nice, and to slow down and like, yeah, not constantly be like wanting the next trip. and actually just be like, wow, like, and sit down with photos. And I'm working on like a book of all photos and writing in it and slowly just adding bits to it. And that's just so nice to actually think about everything I've done.
Yeah, and actually pause and be with it and actually reflect back on the experiences, because they're the sort of things that, those experiences become your memories and become things that are always with you. Whereas I feel when you're actually on the road doing a thing, you don't have time to take stock of what happened yesterday or a week ago or a month ago, because you're constantly moving forward, perhaps problem solving, thinking about what's going to happen here. Do I have my visa for here? How many days do I get to the border? Or whatever it might be. How am I going to fix the pedal that just snapped off my crank? Sure, we're going to get to a lot of that. I can imagine it's been quite something to just be, sit, pause and reflect. Claire, I've got so many questions for you. My mind explodes. Where do I even start? I've asked you my first question a few times before, so I'm going to change it up once again. And I want you, Claire, to pause and tell me about the first day of this huge tour riding from Mongolia through the UK. But I want to place you the first day when you're in Mongolia, you've left Ulaanbaatar behind and you really feel like you're out in the wilderness. Just describe the day to me.
Yeah, no, I remember leaving. I stayed in a small hostel in Ulaanbaatar, which is way bit like more built up than you think it's going to be. I met some other bike tourists there who told me about some epic routes, this German couple. And then, I didn't even stay. I think I stayed one night at the hostel and then I was like, I'm just going to go. Like everyone was like, oh, I'll stay a bit longer in Ulaanbaatar. And I was like, no, I want to get out of the city. And the first day was just, my mind was whirling as it always, on your first day, it's quite nerve wracking. You're like, oh my God, here we go. I was definitely nervous. And then like half an hour later, a car stopped and gave me some food. And you're just like, okay, we're back. And people are being incredible again. And, welcome to Mongolia, where are you going? And they stop for a chat and like you just ease in straight away, get comfortable on the bike again, because I think in the first hour I noticed some noises and you have to go through the bike, and because you just put it together yourself and you go, oh, maybe I haven't put that together right, or I think my handlebars were a bit twisted. So you definitely, like, the first couple of hours you're just constantly stopping and moving things about, and then it kind of took maybe 3-4 hours to get out of the kind of city, and then started to see the white yurts and the plains and beautiful countryside. But it did take a couple of days in Ulaanbaatar, like leaving Ulaanbaatar, to really get remote. So it was an interesting first few days, and then suddenly you're just away and away you are, and from people and suddenly in the remote areas.
Did you find that it was in that moment that you were like, oh yeah, this is what I'm here for? Because I remember distinctly, like I said, I interviewed you for the last episode. I think it was the day you were heading out to Heathrow. You were going to stay overnight and sleep at the airport because you had an early flight.
Yeah.
And I remember you were like, even this week, I'm like, do I do this? Do I not? Like, you were nervous. You were questioning yourself whether you should go or not. And you were talking about that in that episode, sort of saying, I know this is normal, but I'm just, I don't know whether I should do this, but I definitely need to. So did you find, you were talking about a family pulls you over and greets you and it gives you an act of kindness. You're like, oh, I'm back. And so when you're out there in that Mongolian steppe, endless horizon, big sky country, big storm country, we might say as well, big river country, all of those sort of things. Did you find you were like, in your heart of heart thinking, oh yeah, this is what I'm here for. This is what I'm doing.
100%. Yeah, you basically, I remember talking to you. I was really, really anxious before this trip. And like, look, I tried to say, obviously I get nervous before trips with all the noise that we've always spoken about. You get a lot of noise before leaving to a trip from loads of people saying, you can't do that, that's not safe. And even my family were getting on to, my family couldn't relate. None of them knew the stands, none of them could even fathom where they are. Friends didn't even know where Tajikistan is. And you've got people saying, that's pretty dangerous, Claire. And I think all of that. And then the week before, it kind of just got to me. I was like, are these people right? Have I pushed it too far this time? And then, no, as soon as I got on that bike, as soon as I got on the plane, to be honest, I was fine. All the nerves went. It's just the step of doing it. So like we've always said, like it's just, channeling that fear, getting on the bike. And then as soon as I sit on that bike, I'm away. I'm in a different mode. I feel like I'm a different person as well. Like all the fear just goes and I'm just excited. and I feel really relaxed and calm. Yeah.
Really flipping into that positive psychology, I've spoken about it a few times in different episodes before, of channeling nerves into excitement, and you have actually felt that with your journeys as well, which is amazing to sort of think about too.
Yeah, the positive mindset, if you can get that and you can switch that, I think that is such a weapon. Like, you can just use it, and a good weapon, like, you're just like to use, and a great tool, just being able to go, no, okay, shut off any negative thoughts, just go and get it, and it's going to work out. I think if you can change your mind, then mindset to that, you're winning.
And I think something else you spoke about there, and I know a lot of listeners have dealt with this because I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and I'm pretty sure people have reached out to you as well about this, Claire, is when you get other people's fears pushed on you, and I think solo women get it a lot more than guys do, their fears of the unknown, because they don't know what it's like. They're giving you their fears through acts of love, but their fears on you can feel really heavy. And so being able to stand up to that and feel the fear and do it anyway sometimes, that's something you've spoken about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and that's where the freedom comes in. I think once you can get out there, and it's even more empowering because you're really rebelling against what everyone's saying, and then you're proving them wrong. And that's like, yeah, like I find that so freeing when I've, set up my wild camp for the night and I'm not feeling nervous because I'm just understand that I don't know, it's just really powerful, I think, to be able to feel safe and tell people, and be able to come home and tell people, no, I was completely safe, I didn't have one incident. That is really awesome to be able to share. I know that's not everyone's experience, but that's my experience, and it makes me believe in humanity. And in a time like we're in now, when there's so many negative stories, to be able to go and share some good news stories is great.
And I think also probably the thing that's happened for you now, Claire, as well, I mean, gosh, you've had so many years of solo journeys, literally years when you think about it, how many tens of thousands of kilometres, but you've also got that evidence to back yourself up. So maybe even, because we are humans, I imagine, we're talking about positive psychology, I imagine that maybe not every day you're excited about. Maybe there are times where for some reason your gut's giving you for your nerves and I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Do you now get to look back on your own experiences just to remind yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when I'm struggling with something in life here, I just think, look back at what you've done. You've been resilient. And now I just look at it. I mean, it was a huge privilege to travel for that long. And it's really helping me with so many lessons in real life now. I'm just like, we all are so lucky to have electricity, warm houses, fridges. I've had nothing. Like, in the last 8 years, it's been so simple. And then I come home and I got all these luxuries. And then I'm almost as well, I'm feeling really, obviously, insanely grateful for my passport, like the fact that I could just cross borders. We just got we're so lucky, and I met so many women and people that would love to travel. Like, I can never complain about the hard days on the road because we're allowed to go and travel, and as a woman, I feel like I can dream big. But whereas I met young girls in Turkey that their father wouldn't let them walk down the street alone. So I think, like, I suddenly just have this overwhelming, like, gratefulness to be able to have done any of it. And I also, like, in a way, I feel a bit guilty. I feel a bit guilty that I've just been able to wander for so long and cross borders and do what I want. And I know not everyone can just pack up their bags and leave for 8 years. And I think we're talking about Instagram a bit, but, like, everyone's just like, quit your job and go. But it's not that easy for people. And I'm definitely realising not everyone, I'm so lucky to have been able to pack up my stuff and do it. But not everyone, people have got responsibilities. People aren't healthy enough to do it. Like, I just feel very privileged.
And like, we've got the birthplace lottery. Both of you and I have passports that could allow us to go to probably nearly every country in the world. Not quite every country, but, nearly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous. In fact, I think of an amazing adventurer, Miriam Belkahel. Hi, Miriam. Amazing Moroccan adventurer who's just spent 3.5 years, I think, travelling all through Africa.
Yes, I follow.
And as a Moroccan from Africa, her own struggles of even going through borders through Africa and the passport privilege that she doesn't necessarily have and the struggle she's had to travel through there. So that's something that comes to mind. The other thing is, like, when you're talking about layers of guilt and it's not easy to go there, and they're all true, especially where people don't have an option. I think something you need to remind yourself of as well, though, Claire, is it's not like you had an endless amount of funds to just draw on all the time. Like, you actually made this happen for yourself. You know, Australia, you worked right throughout it. And I think was Southeast Asia as well. Did you
Yeah.
work through that as well? I'm not sure. But, you know, and then you saved really hard and did Mongolia to the UK on like the shoestringest budget possible, living simply to make it happen for yourself. And I guess doing this form of travel, you've made choices which have allowed this to happen, which are sacrifices in other ways as well. So all me saying, I don't feel like you need to feel guilty. I know that you're grateful,
Yeah.
but I don't think you need to feel guilt.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. I know what you mean. It's a weird feeling that I'm getting at the moment. I think just being home, you just, I think post adventure, you go through a lot. And, you know, when I talk to people, I've met lots of new people. I've moved up to the Lake District away from home. And, you know, I'm meeting people and they're going, oh, what's your story? And then I'll go, oh God, I've been like traveling for the last 8 years. And they're like, whoa, like, and I'm like, oh, and then you just kind of get into it. And I just think when I'm retelling my story now, I'm just feeling, gosh, very privileged, very lucky to do it. But like you said, I'm not doing it in luxury, and I have chosen that path. So it's, I'm just very grateful.
Gosh, I'm getting flashbacks to when we first spoke, Claire, and you were going across Australia in like the cheapest tent from our outdoor store here in Australia, Anaconda, and was it? I'm trying to think of what shoes you had. They were like, what were the shoes? Are they
£30? Yeah, they were like
ASICS shoes held together by what, sticky tape, 100-mile-an-hour tape or something?
They did the whole trip. Because do you remember I ordered another pair and I
remember the wrong size.
I ordered them in the wrong size. So like, honestly, for weeks I was like, yes, I'm going to have new shoes. They're going to arrive at this remote post office on the Nullarbor. And I get there, find the shoes, and they were 2 sizes too small. So crazy.
But I think you paid it forward still. I think you found someone to give the shoes to, and they were going to give them to their daughter or something like that.
Yeah, that was it.
Are you still wearing ASICS shoes now?
Yeah.
Are they like your go-to?
I wore them on some of the trip, but then my feet got so cold on Mongolia to London. Like I was wearing hiking boots, so I was wearing heavy hiking boots pedaling, which is not fun, I can tell you now. And I'm actually still suffering a bit with my toes, and to be honest, my hands are really battered from all the cycling. I'm really basically like
neural issues, like tingly fingers.
No, more like I get a claw, so my my little finger like catches itself like that, and basically just a lot of nerve stuff. And I think it's just from literally holding the handlebars for so long. And then in Tajikistan, I got chilblains in my toes. So every night I'd wake up like 2:00 and I'd be like, are my toes broken?
Yeah, they look like dead feet, don't they, when that happens?
Yeah, and it was horrible. And apparently that's going from like hot to very cold, hot to very cold. But I mean, I don't know when I was getting hot. Maybe they were getting hot while I was cycling. I don't know.
Yeah, instead of being -20 outside when you're in the tent, it now feels like -2.
Yeah.
Something like that. Actually, I have a question which is from a previous podcast guest, Laura Bastioli. Laura just recently finished a journey up through Australia. Yep. She went from Melbourne, Adelaide, up to Darwin, and then is now in Broome.
Yep.
So has done similar roads to you in Australia and is an awesome kick-ass solo female. And she had a question for you. She wanted to know, how did you cope with such cold temperatures when you were riding?
Yeah, gosh, like honestly, I don't know. As I said, you go into a different mode when you're. I basically knew it was coming, so I had a lot of cold weather gear with me. But I'm an asthmatic. Like cold weather here in the UK sets me off. I was freaking out about altitude. I was like, well, you struggle to breathe at altitude, so am I going to be even worse because of my asthma? So there was I knew that there was potential that I was going to have to turn around on like the Pamirs section because of my asthma, but actually it was fine. But yeah, so I was quite prepared with loads of thermals, big gloves, but no one can prepare you for lying in a tent in -20. You just want the night to be over. Yeah, I just remember just being like, please just be morning. And actually very lucky that we had sun every day. I think the Pamir, we had blue skies, but very, very cold conditions. But if you're waking up to grey clouds and no sun, I think it would have been even harder. But
Yeah, like a damp cold.
Yeah, but like getting out of the sleeping bag every morning and getting on the bike, whew, and then like the winds were cold on your face. So I had really thermal like buffs up to my nose. Yeah, I mean, definitely embraced it.
Listeners, something that is part and parcel of bike adventures is unfortunately flat tyres. This year I've actually been using a tiny e-pump made by Cyclus, and it is fantastic. It's super tiny, like literally fits in the palm of my hand. The device takes 30 minutes to charge up, and it will inflate your tyres between 3 and 5 times depending how much PSI you need to put in them. It's super easy to use, really quick and simple, and has a digital pressure gauge on it as well, so you know exactly how much you've inflated your tyres to. Check them out at Cyclus and use the code STR for a sneaky 5% discount. Support the brands that support the podcast. Now back to the episode. Yeah, did you find, like, with the buff over your nose, and I say I'm an asthmatic as well, and cold air on my lungs, like exercising, is a trigger for me. So yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like, and by trigger, you know, you feel the start of a potential asthma attack. It's like someone has stolen your breath from you before you were ready for it to run out. That's how I sort of...
Horrible feeling, yeah.
And then you go to have another breath and it's not there. But I find personally, like in winter, if I'm riding, I need to have like a buff, like one of those neck warmers up over my nose, and I need to breathe like warmer air, and so breathing through the buff helps. Were you using strategies like that?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. But I mean, honestly, my asthma, it's crazy. Like my asthma, whenever I'm on trips, has never been a problem. And then I get home to England. It's like, I mean, what is it?
Maybe it's social asthma.
Yeah, maybe. It's like, it's 1 degree now in the Lake District. We had snow last week, and yeah, I'm hiking and I can't breathe. I'm going, you know, and it's just like, and I'm really wheezy. So it is something in England that does, it might be diet, could be anything, couldn't it? So they say that things like milk can set you off. So my diet's completely different when I'm on the road to when I'm home. So there's lots of things it could be, but yeah, thankfully it never affected me on the trip.
Yeah, I mean, extremes of weather was definitely something you endured, and right from week one, like Mongolia, my gosh, that was like entering into a game on like the hardest level. That was like black belt. Yeah. Riding at times, wasn't it?
Do you remember? I think I put like, wow, like I've experienced more problems in like the first 2 weeks of Mongolia than the whole of Australia. Like it was just what every day.
Yeah.
Ripped tires. I didn't seal.
Your tent was ripped as well.
Yeah, my tent ripped. Lightning storms. Yeah, it was quite hectic. But I mean, I love, like now looking back, that how I had all the problems at the start. Actually, I had a lot of problems at the last day. The last day getting to the finish line was another story. But yeah, most of the problems happened at the start, and that bike did so well because you know me, I threw it around and battered it up, but it coped.
Well, also all the river crossings. Like I imagine there were so many river crossings, and I remember watching them, Claire, like hauling over multiple times because you had to take your panniers off to get across the river as well. So and we're not talking about something that's like, you know, 5 meter traverse. You're like hundreds of meters at points, crossing one way and then going back, and one way and going back. Yeah,
there were like 15 crossings, and I remember doing like 6 of them and being absolutely knackered. And I was like, okay, now I'm really stuck. Do I keep going? Do I turn around? And that was one. I was, you know, when you're standing there, you're like, make the right decision. But I just thought, I've just got to keep going. I was my shoulders from carrying the bike, and, you know, and little things like, you're like, don't dip the cassette in the water too much. You know, you're trying to keep the bike. I physically, the water was up to my hips on some of them, and it was strong. And yeah, I mean, that route was incredible. Like I don't know if it was a route, to be honest, but but I got through. And then, I mean, it got to kind of 3 o'clock, and then there was a lightning storm. So I had a tarp, so I put that over me, the bike, and the dog, because the dog was there. And we were just in this open plain, and I was just like, oh God, I hope this doesn't last very long. And luckily it only lasted like 45 minutes, and then I finished the day. But yeah, so many moments where it could have gone much worse.
Oh, I wonder, is that their sort of normal weather patterns in Mongolia? Like, I know that you timed your trip of departure for the best time to sort of be there, didn't you?
I was told August was the best, and yeah, I had lovely, lovely weather mostly, but it turns on you. Like you see these grey clouds come in, and you think, oh, okay, maybe over there's bad, and then suddenly it's over you, and you're like, no, and that you can't hide from it. There's nowhere to go. That was probably the scary part for me. I was like, okay, I cannot like I would ride quicker to try get to the next village, but then you realise that there is no village. Like you're just in the middle of a plain. So that was quite difficult because you're just constantly thinking, oh, I need shelter, and you're looking around and you've just got a 360 of flat land. So that was quite scary, and knowing that your tent, like my tent, every night there was like gusts of wind at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., like out of nowhere that would just absolutely shake your tent. And everyone knows the feeling of your tent about to rip and fly away. It's a horrible feeling.
Yeah, because I mean, it didn't fly away, thankfully, but you were in it when it ripped, and just that. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
especially I sort of think. I think about you there, Claire. Remember, I was joking earlier. You know, you had the cheapest of all tents, took you through Australia. It was a pretty heavy duty one. I wonder how would it have gone in Mongolia? Like you were on a super MSR hubba tent.
I don't know.
Amazing.
I don't know. I'm not.
But it got ripped. Like I wonder whether the heavy duty one would it have stood up to it
Maybe
any better, or would it have been way worse?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not knocking MSR, but I think the parts could have been better. I don't know. I think the Australian one had a lot of wind as well. Do you remember? Had like 3 weeks of headwind, and that so we had some windy.
Do I remember? I bet you do.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe it would have done. But yeah, it was quite annoying. It's like I'd invested a lot of money. They're not cheap, and then for it to break the first 3 weeks in Mongolia, I was like, no.
Yeah.
But the winds were bad, so and maybe it wasn't for those conditions. So yeah.
I have another question from another previous guest I want to ask, and this is from all my questions from previous guests are from solo females, by the way.
Oh, I love that.
This is from Terry Jockhurst. Terry's an awesome Aussie, retiree who's decided the way she's going to live her retirement is by taking bike adventures on her own, just saying, stuff it, I'm going. And she's wild camping and she's awesome. And listeners, if you haven't heard her yet, I'm putting a link in the show notes. Terry, you're awesome. But Terry wants to know, she says, Claire, there is such a great distance from Mongolia to the UK with so many options of where to go in between. Do you take this road or that road? Do you turn right and see this famous site in the north? Do you turn south and check out a magic place somewhere off route? Did you ever suffer analysis paralysis? And how do you decide on a route?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, before the trip, I was staring at maps, and I was, me, I think I've admitted that in the past I've been quite structured. Australia, I had spreadsheets and this and that.
The famous spreadsheet.
Yeah, I was like, okay, Claire, for this trip, like this is I kind of knew it was going to be my last big trip. I was like, you're going to let that go and be a bit more flexible and decide the route when you get there. So yeah, I was kind of underprepared, I guess. I got to Mongolia and knew that I needed to get to a certain border in China, but I was like, I don't really mind which way. And in Mongolia, none of the roads are there that say that on the map, they're not there. So you basically rock up and you're like, where's that road on the map? That is definitely not there. And you're literally just looking for like small gravel paths made from, the random nomad or the horses. And so, yeah.
Or yak or something.
Yeah. So really, I just didn't have a set route. And then, oh gosh, like knew I wanted to do the Pamir highway, but I was kind of getting chased by winter. But then luckily I met a guy and he said he was doing it, and then suddenly I'm doing Tajikistan. So again, I just went in with a massive open mind. But Europe is oh my gosh, when you get to Europe, you've got so many routes you could go. In Europe, I was living day by day. I hadn't thought about any of the routes. I knew I wanted to come see you in the Pyrenees. I had like points of people that I was meeting. My brother was coming to Dubrovnik, so I was like, okay, you need to get yourself that area. Gosh, it's so fun because you can really change your mind. So I kind of got to Dubrovnik, was like, hell no, these roads are too busy. So I turned around, went back to Bosnia, into Montenegro, and completely detoured. So it was so nice being flexible and just, if I wasn't enjoying that road, I could say, oh, no, I'm going to turn around. So yeah, it is a bit of a crazy experience trying to route it on your own, but you just listen to other people, you talk to locals. I was really lucky. I found Trans Dinarica, who have like a ton of routes in Europe, and they were incredible. Every route I took of theirs was just 10 out of 10 scenery. gravel, just epic riding. And they helped me out so much. They sent me all the GPX files, and that was awesome. And there were fellow cyclists on that, so that was really nice.
Yeah, that was through the Balkans, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was so cool. It was honestly, it was so nice to not have to plan as well. I was like, oh, I can follow their route, which was really nice at the end of a long trip.
Taking it day by day there, like you said, you had a few little milestones, but I guess then it also gives you that extra bit of flexibility and just also that awesome feeling of just discovering something that you didn't know existed, which is pretty cool too. Like, there's also the flip side of, and I spoke about this with some recent guests, Sam Eder and Luke Fowler, the Garbage Bag Boys, and they were saying how sometimes if you know about something and you expect something, it can also potentially lead you up to a bit of disappointment. Like, you might make it to be this bigger thing than it actually is, and then you get there and maybe you're let down a little bit. So there is a benefit to not being too structured and over planning and stuff like that as well.
100%.
Was it in China you sort of, the difference of being flexible to take a different route? You took the G217, which was up into the mountains in China.
Yeah.
Was that something you even knew existed before you set off?
No idea. The Dooku Highway as well. It's like both, it's called the same. And wow, yeah, no, I had no idea. Wasn't planned for it. I just was like, I do not want to ride on the highway for 700k. So I was like, I'm going to go and do this G217 that someone, I think a local had just said, oh, look at this route. And then I basically went, and I so underprepared. I didn't know that it was the last day of it being open for the season because of the snow. I kind of was like, it was pretty warm up until there. And I was, in China, it was 30 degrees in some of the cities in China. And then I went and did the Dooku Highway, and it got colder and colder and colder as I climbed. Like, it's a pretty hefty climb. Snow. And then, basically the locals were like, oh, it's going to be closed. And I was already up there. They said, quickly go this morning. There's another group of cyclists going, follow them and go and do it this morning and you'll be okay. Kind of went past them in the morning, overtook them, and I just waved. I said, see you at the top. Anyway, I waited for them at the top and they never arrived. I was like, oh, what's going on? And it was full on snow at the top. It was freezing. I did not have enough layers on and never saw the other cyclists. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to have to get down now. I'm getting really cold. And this was the most important lesson I learned the whole trip. I basically waited too long at the top and then went downhill in the same amount of layers as I climbed in. And the wind going down was so cold that I basically was so close to getting hypothermia. I got down to the bottom, I was shaking, I was chattering, my jaw was going, and the locals put me next to a fire. And then suddenly I heard this beep, beep, beep outside the restaurant, and the other cyclists had to give up because the snow was so bad. They were told it was too dangerous, so they'd all got in a car. So I was like, oh my God, I should have got, I didn't know how dangerous it was. The visibility, it was like a whiteout snow.
Yeah, what elevation were you at there? Like, it was fairly hefty.
It was fair. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, it was like a ski resort at the top, basically. Yeah, so it was pretty. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, riding, and it was just whiteout conditions, like you couldn't see in front of your hand, so cars were coming down, and I was riding as well. It was just really, really dangerous. So it was a good lesson for the Pamir Highway on layering and how to keep warm because it was so cold. And yeah,
I think I remember. Gosh, Claire, I have flicked through every single one of your stories on your Insta. And listeners, if you're listening to Claire's story and you want to relive the memories, give it a follow on Instagram, Exploring by Bicycle. I've got a link in the show notes. And then go through each of the countries and see what Claire was experiencing day by day. But I think it was on that section, and you wrote after the fact something along the lines of, this is a day that it's better that my mum didn't know what I did today, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, what did I go through?
Yeah.
And then it was like, if you've got vertigo, maybe don't look over. And this was on my side of the road, and it's a mega drop off of a road into like an abyss of mountains upon mountains, and it's all dirt, but it looked mega.
It was incredible.
Did you have like a hot bowl of like beef noodle broth, Chinese style, to at least help warm you up or anything like that by the end of the day?
I think like people honestly like arrived to this small Chinese restaurant, and I think they were like, they could see in my face I was not very well, and like three like very motherly figures just like took me, and like they put me next to an open fire. they brought me like endless hot tea. They brought me a beautiful pot of tea. And then they gave me an incredible like hot soup with dumplings in it. And yeah, I honestly think I sat there for 2 hours. We like delayered and yeah. And then the cyclists came, the other ones, and they invited me to go and stay with them in some yurts. And we went and stayed all in these yurts, and it was -10 that night, but we had like 4 duvets. It was just like, I was so grateful to be with them. It was just one of those experiences. I was like, this is so mad. But woke up in the yurt, and then it was just stunning. And then the next day was like a blue sky day, so you could see the amount of snow that had come, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, and I think the mad thing for me thinking about this, Claire, is, I know when you did Tajikistan, that's in October, that's really possibly, people would say past the cutoff of going through there maybe, I'm not sure, but we're talking about China, and I think this is potentially in August, isn't it? Like, this is summertime there.
Yeah.
I guess it's the elevation though.
Yeah, the elevation. Yeah, I think it was quite unexpected. All the locals were saying it was unexpected snowfall. So yeah, but I really liked it. But then I know a couple have done the G217 recently, and they said it was really busy, really touristy. So, but I didn't find that. I found it really quiet. So it's interesting that
maybe it's changing.
It was Rebecca. They did the same route.
Oh wow, Rebecca and Harvey.
Yeah, because I had recommended it, and they were like, "Oh, it was too busy."
Oh wow.
So really interesting how you can have 2 different experiences.
Yeah, I wonder, does it change which direction you're going? I mean, in theory, it shouldn't. But I wonder if you were... Yeah, I don't know.
No,
because you definitely... Something that I've seen you comment on, more people seem to be heading east than heading west, don't they?
100%, yeah. I honestly... Everyone leaves home, I get it. Like, you would start at your house and go. If you're in Europe, I think a lot of people like to leave home and cycle from their house. But I was really set on finishing and riding home and finishing in England. I just thought that'd be a really nice way to end all of this craziness to finish at home. Yeah, it was just something in my head.
Yeah, were there moments on your journey, Claire, where that was the motivator? Like, it's easy to fall into that whole Instagram v-reality trap of where every day of life on the road is amazing and blue sky and just a brilliant experience. Like, we were talking about things where physically it's actually quite grim. Are there emotional days where maybe you're not feeling great, you may be a bit more homesick or something, where the pull of I'm riding towards home was a motivator for you?
Yeah, I think, look, oh gosh, there's some awful days. And I think, like you say, a lot of people just post the best bits, but you have days of torrential rain where you're just riding for 8 hours in pouring rain and not seeing anything. So yeah, there's days where you're like, oh, this is not fun, and you're camping in a flooded field. Like, there's just so many times like that. So look, I think I just had this massive feeling of, this is your dream. Like, whenever it got hard, I was like, Claire, you've dreamed about this for years. Like, enjoy the hardness. Do you know what I mean? Because I was just like, you wanted this so bad. So every time it got really shit or hard, I was just like, no, like, this is your dream. Like, you're living your dream. So enjoy all of it. I didn't really get homesick. I think obviously I was looking forward to getting back, but I just tried not to rush it. I think in France it was hard because it was 40 degrees and
it was mental.
Yeah, and I wrote, and maybe I should have slowed down and just waited, but I think I had a date maybe for my final day, so I was like, come on, Claire, you've only got like a week left, just do. Maybe I can't remember, maybe I had something in mind, but
you had the ferry sailing that you had to get to as well, which, oh gosh, we should talk about this, because how awesome is it, first and foremost? I think it's such a brilliant way of doing the channel crossing.
Yeah.
Is it Sail Link?
Yeah.
So they run, is it like a big catamaran or something which they sail, and they really want slow human-powered travellers and welcome people on bikes to use their service. Unfortunately, the day that you chose to do it, the seas were a bit high, weren't they? Or was it wind chop? Whatever. You were a bit green.
I was awful. I was so looking forward to this, and it is awesome. The whole experience. You basically get clipped on. You can walk around.
I definitely want to do it myself.
Do it on a flat day, and like there had been a couple that had brought their bikes over, done a few days in France, and they were like, "Oh, it was so lovely on the way. They were sunbathing in the nets, and basically, we knew it was going to be bad. They nearly cancelled it, and I know I get a bit seasick anyway." And for the first hour, I was loving it. I was out there with my hands out, up in the air, like clipped on to the side. And then suddenly I just,
5 minutes later.
oh my God. And I just had my head in a bucket and I was vomiting and it was just awful. But then people were really interested in my trips. I'd be vomiting and they'd be like, how was Mongolia? And I'd just be like, "Ugh," and they were still talking to me. And I was just like, yeah, it was just like such a funny ending. Got to England.
Claire, in that moment, were you thinking, well, actually, I feel exactly how I felt when I was in Tajikistan on the Pamirs when I first started and I was sick there?
Yeah,
Because I think you had really bad food poisoning both ends.
yeah.
I don't even know if you were on the Pamirs yet. You were riding to start it or something.
We were literally riding to start it. I still don't know if that was food poisoning or altitude sickness, but I was groggy, and I've seen some photos since, like, because I took a selfie, and my eyes are just like. So I actually think it was more altitude sickness. I was so ill. I couldn't move. I just remember like being like, no, I have to ride with the guys, like because there was two other guys at that point, and I was just like, I can't actually physically move right now. I was really unwell. So yeah, no, it was similar to that, but I think it was just yeah, it was just a funny way to end. And I was like, look, we've done, it was a kind of perfect fit in way to have an adventure on a sailing boat. Something had to go wrong. So
Well, no, I think maybe, Claire, you and I need to do that ferry crossing together. But
yeah.
I'm committing to waiting it out for a calm sailing.
Oh yeah, that'd be lovely. Yeah, no, I'd be so nice on a calm day. Yeah, the guys are brilliant. They're really, really cool guys.
Gosh, the list of adventures we're having is just growing because I think we have committed, along with my husband Stephen, of the three of us doing Mongolia. So
Yeah,
we have to figure out where all these are coming out.
I do have like a lot of trips in my head that are not as long, obviously, because I've got a dog now.
Yay, Gobi!
Yeah, go me. So there's a lot of plans to do some fun adventures, just a lot smaller.
Yeah, and I actually think I've spent the year asking nearly every guest what it's been like to bring their journey to a close, and sometimes with the topic of post-adventure blues, and trying to get a pattern of what are people feeling, what are the common things that people go through, and especially for the people who don't seem to be perturbed by them as much, what are the things that they're doing maybe that might help? And for some people it's an individual thing, but I honestly think it's that old Al Humphrey mini micro adventure idea, and sometimes even keeping it local with little overnighters. Those little things give us the same feelings on those days away that a bigger adventure can give us as well. And so I think incorporating as much as those into our everyday normal world, if we want to put it that way, I think that's a great hack.
100%. There's loads of cool adventures you can do, and I think I always talk about my 3-week wobble. So like after I get back from a trip, you have the grand welcome back. People are super interested. You see everyone. It's really exciting. You open the fridge. You do everything you wanted to do after the trip. Then I always have a 3-week wobble. So like I've nailed it now. Like at the 3 weeks, I go do a little adventure. So I went up to Scotland.
Oh, I love it.
Stayed in the bothy for the night, and I was like, oh wow, like yeah, you're so right. Like these micro adventures give enough. Like my cup was so full after that, and now I'm just excited for the next small adventure. And yeah, got lots of little things planned, lots of Scotland trips planned, and yeah, the UK is beautiful, and on your doorstep's beautiful. I'm hiking a lot with Gobi and getting the same high as I was on the bike, so that's cool.
Yeah, and I think that's a really powerful thing to harness, like realizing what gives you energy. I remember when we were discussing, just chatting as friends, about your move to the Lakes District, and you sort of said, that you need to be in nature and you need to have access to the outdoors in that prolific kind of way to make you feel good. And I think it sort of also reminds me, Claire, of something you've spoken about, how it's not that you don't love your friends or your family, you love being around them, you love the company of being around them, but you really, really value that solo time. You're not lonely, that you just love solitude as well.
Yeah.
That's something these trips have taught you about yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, like, yeah, I was quite strict about that when I got home. I was like, if I'm going to try and settle and not do, like, look, I know myself, I think I could probably ride for the rest of my life and go travel and be crazy. And I will do lots of trips, but it was very much, you're either going to give this a real good go and settle down and go find the Lake District, or I was just going to go and book another ticket and do South America. So it was like, I really want to see if I can do this. And I felt ready. I really feel ready. So yeah, I was quite strict, like, no, I'm not going to do London. I'm not going to do the things that I know my loved ones are there and my friends and family are there, but I know how important nature is to me and my mental health. So I'm just like, no, I'm going to go and find my little place here. And yeah, it's been amazing, and it's so helped with settling back in. Like I'm loving it, and yeah, I feel really, really chilled. I feel at home and just enjoying the outdoors. So yeah, I think it's good. Well, what all the rides have taught me is to get to know yourself, and 9 hours on a bike every day, you're going to get to know yourself. Yeah, just listening to what you enjoy and what you need, I think is really important when you get home, not trying to conform straight back into busy London life. And yeah, I'm glad I've made the decision to do that.
Listeners, if you absolutely love this podcast and you love tuning into the stories that I bring to you each and every week, you can help me and support the show by heading to buymeacoffee.com/seek travel ride. Shout me a few virtual coffees and keep this podcast rolling. Back to the episode. Did you find, because obviously Mongolia to the UK, it's been a huge journey. I remember when you came to the Pyrenees and we were discussing this, you weren't 100% sure whether it was a bigger distance than the whole distance around Australia at the time. I'm not sure whether it ended up being more. It probably did.
It did, yeah. Yeah, it did, yeah.
Regardless, though, this is a real deep and meaningful question, but I feel whenever someone goes on a huge journey, they change. There's an aspect of you that changes, or maybe it's you grow. I don't know. There's probably lots of different terminology we could use for it, right? But did you find through the process of Mongolia to the UK, you changed even more? Or were you just more certain of yourself? Like, what have you sort of observed reflecting back? Claire, who left Ulaanbaatar, compared to Claire, who's in Lakes District now.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Very different people. Yeah. I think, so just quickly, the Australia one, I definitely think was physically harder. I was really gunning for it. And yeah, I think the whole trip was tougher, which is crazy to say, I think. But yeah, the Mongolia to London one, I learned a lot more about myself, and I think taking it a bit slower. For me, it was just a real chance to finish a dream. Like the Mongolia to London trip was always the dream because of Devlin Murphy's books, and that was the one I'd always wanted to do. Australia was quite random, and obviously it was incredible and a massive dream to do it, but the Mongolia to London one felt like the one I really needed to do, and like the one I wouldn't let go of. Like there was no way I was not going to do it. Like there was just no way. And my best mate was like, Claire, you're getting unbearable. Like when I was at home, she was like, go and do that trip because all you do is talk about it. All I was doing, I was obsessed with it. I was just thinking about it all the time. I was looking at maps every day. So then actually doing it, finishing it, I feel like a completely different person. I feel like a massive weight off my shoulders. I feel like a dream, like, when you just really want something and you've done it, I think, I don't have to worry about it. Like I used to think about it every day, and now about doing it, and now I've done it, I just feel like a real great sense of achievement and relief, and like I'm happy that I've fulfilled something that I really wanted to do. Yeah, so I think I do feel like I've changed in a nice way. Like I feel like I'm going to be way more present with people in the UK now because like I've done the thing I wanted to do, whereas I probably was a bit unbearable to friends because I wasn't being present. I was always like, I'm going to go do this Mongolia to London trip, whereas now I just feel like, yeah, cool, now I can be I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, it makes 100% of sense. And I sort of said it in my intro, you did the thing that you said you wanted to do. Like, I think there's so much power in taking that. And I guess with every day, when you were saying Australia felt harder, I wonder if this journey felt comparatively maybe slightly easier because of all the experience that you'd had. Like Australia, like it wasn't that you went to Australia without any touring experience. You'd done some touring before. But I just wonder whether there's elements of you change things up slightly. We joke about the big spreadsheet you had in Australia, the huge structure, day-to-day, what distances you were doing. Whereas if I look to how you did this trip, bear in mind I've been your online stalker the last couple of days reminding myself of everything that you did on every single post. But there were definitely times where I could see where you would say, I need a rest day, maybe I need 2 rest days. And I wonder whether that was the missing element that you didn't give yourself the luxury of in Australia. There's a topic I wouldn't mind discussing with you if you don't mind, which is it's sort of around the idea of rest days and around the idea of not every day is a great day. As a woman, every month for a few days, we really struggle, some of us. And this is something we've spoken about offline, and you were like, no one talks about this, but like touring long term and having to deal with a menstrual cycle, that's another layer. Like, that's the equivalent of a really bad snowstorm on the horizon that's going to hit you for a few days. How did you find you dealt with that on the journey?
Yeah, gosh. I mean, it's been a factor in all my journeys, obviously, but the Mongolia to London one. Number one, you have to carry a lot of tampons for a whole trip because you don't know if you're going to be able to
Mm.
get stuff. A lot of shops don't sell them in these countries, obviously. So like, it sounds silly, but you're carrying a lot of tampons for the whole trip, and then mentally, physically, oh my gosh, it's just it's like you've been hit by a bus on your first day. Some months are easier than others. I guess everyone's different, but yeah, I remember being in Tajikistan and I was like, all right, I'm going to go do 120k tomorrow. And then I came on my period that morning and I was like, all right, I'm not getting up today. and I couldn't even fathom doing
Mm.
10k. So I took a rest day and I think I posted about it. And I was really nervous about posting. I think that's when we were messaging.
You messaged me saying, oh, I'm nervous about this. And I said, no, do it. Like,
Yeah. And I think I posted about it. And the response was insane. I think that was like my most interacted story, men and women, which was interesting, like men being like really supportive and interested. And yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, I need to just talk about this a bit more. Because physically, there's no way in hell I was going to be able to ride 120k on that day, for example. Like, it's just no way. So yeah, but then some months I could. So I find it really interesting. I find the whole thing fascinating. And I really think about top sports people as well, top sportswomen who come on, if they're in a final of a tennis match or a marathon, or, I'm like, how do they make it work? And I think you just do make it work, but there's nothing like it. It's a horrible feeling.
yeah, I feel, and whether it was menstruation, like you said, there wasn't even a choice for you to make. Like on those bad days, if it's bad and if it's a bad month, you can't make a choice. It's just, this is what it's at. But also, just in other times, I feel like you just had a better read of your physical and mental load at the time to know when you needed to take a time out and a pause. And maybe there were times where you'd really like to, but there was no choice either. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Probably there were. Yeah, I wonder, going back to the first question, I wonder if that was one of the key differences of what made Australia as opposed to this trip feel so different as well. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
No, I took a lot of rest days. I was interested in going to see the local, and I really changed my route on Turkey. I went down south towards Syria and on the border of Syria, and oh my word, the history and the buildings. And I went to Ishak Palace, which I detoured to, and it was just this huge palace built in the rock and full of snow. And I took a day off and I wandered around there. And those are the moments I'm talking about now. So like Australia, I
Yeah,
would really have
wow.
struggled to take a day off because I would be like, no, I need to be riding. Whereas this trip, I was like, no, I want to go and do all these places, and that was the difference. And I think that just kept my motivation and my enjoyment up. So yeah. So I definitely had a lot of forced rest days. The snow from Georgia, I went back too early, and I
Oh my
were closed.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so I had a lot of snow.
And into Turkey as well.
Yeah,
There was like a border crossing from Georgia into Turkey, and it was a few days where it was like, is it open? Is the road open?
yeah.
Will I be able to cross? And you'd be asking the border guards or the police, what do you think?
Well, then that was really annoying. So I was staying 20k from the border. So I'd ride to the border. They'd be like, no, not today. So then I'd ride back. So just done 40k. And I did that 3 times to get told no.
Oh, wow. Was that all uphill as well? Or was
It
it?
was all right, but it was cold. And like each day they'd be like, oh, maybe this afternoon. And then I just said, here's my phone number. Can you call me when it opens? So I think I did 6 days off then, just waiting. And there was no, it was very basic where I was staying, like very, very basic. No hot water, no running water because it was frozen. And the room was
Yeah.
so cold. I was staying in a tiny guest house, but there was this frozen lake that every day I walked on, which was, again, looking back, sorry, mum, and watched the fishing, like there were like local fishermen cutting holes in the ice and fishing. So I was watching them do that. So it was it was an incredible, at the time I couldn't wait for it to be over. I was like, I want to get on the bike. But looking back, I was like, wow, you just lived in a little Georgian village for 6 days in deep, deep snow. And yeah, it was wicked.
I always remember, Claire, when, because something else that excited you were the times where you were back with family. And I've always loved that you have planned family time where it's possible into your journeys. But I always think, like, with your little, I can't remember if niece or nephew or both, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
sorry,
no,
sorry, little Wyatts, or sorry, little.
but niece, yeah.
But you're gonna be the coolest aunt because you've got all the adventure stories.
I want to go adventure with them. I'm just about to buy the handlebars that can go on the front of your bike with the baby pedals.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it's called. So they sit in front of you, and you basically. So I want to take them out and do that.
that'll be cool. And I always think that's awesome because they get to see a different perspective than just sat behind looking at, your butt or something and not seeing or looking sideways. So, oh my gosh, that sounds so, so awesome. I want to go back to actually southern Turkey and your experiences there because I feel like that's an area where the whole perspective v reality shift on traveling as a woman and something, it was really stark on just how there's two elements to it. One, you did this whole journey, didn't have any issues, right?
Yeah.
And two, how other people's perceptions of there being issues means that it becomes even safer for you in a way. And I think there was an element where, was it a school or a group of teachers who took you in?
Yeah.
And then the next ride, they would put you in touch with the next school or group of teachers to do the same?
Yeah, basically that, oh my word, Turkey as a whole is so friendly, but that corner, so even the locals were a bit worried about me going down there, but that was the kindest section. And basically, I was on the side of the road, and this female teacher came over and she wanted to practice her English, so we spoke. And then she said, "Do you want to stay at the boarding house at the school?" They had a spare dormitory room, and I said, "Yeah, that'd be great." Anyway, like all night just chatted with like all the students and the teachers, and it was just so. That's where one of them said, I wish I could travel, but my father won't even let me walk down the road. And that was the biggest question. They were like, does your father let you do this? It's very religious in that area, and and that was always the question. Are you allowed to do this? You're a woman. Where's your family? Where's your husband? And that's where that was quite a difficult one to explain. But basically they were so friendly but so concerned about me. So every night they called the next town and I'd stay with another school and another school and that kind of happened for about 7 nights. And I got to talk to all the
amazing
young women. Yeah, it was so cool. So I'd rock up and all the students would be on the side of the road waiting, waving. And yeah, it was just like a really, really good, cool experience. And it was, the highlight of Turkey.
Totally unplanned.
Really, really cool. And they would give me, half a day off and I'd walk around the town with them and they'd show me the sights. And, you're really close to Syria. But like, it was so safe and so beautiful. And yeah, so again, I was told not to go so many times. And that was one of the highlights of my trip. And yeah.
Yeah, wow. Because actually it brings me to another question. I swear, this is the final one. I've asked for questions from other awesome solo women. So this one is from M. Hulbert, who's currently on the water cycle. I'm hoping to meet M soon, listeners. That's going to be mega for me. Just a little interjection there. But M's delivering water filters to places in the world that are in need of pure water, and she's an absolute dead set legend like yourself, Claire. Anyway, I reached out to her and said, do you have a question for the other legend? And she goes, yeah. So this is her question. If you got time, I'd love to ask her this question. I'd love to know, hey Claire, thanks for being an amazing role model and inspiration for all solo female adventurers. Now, on your journey across Central Asia and into Europe, I was wondering how easy it was to meet local women and have conversations with them. Were there places that were more or less accessible to talking to the local women as opposed to men? Did you experience any differences between any countries in this aspect? There we go. So, I mean, obviously what we were talking about there in southern Turkey, it was an advantage being a woman being able to be put into a specific type of community there in the boarding houses with the schools. But more broadly speaking, as you were making your way across, what was your experiences there?
That's really interesting. Yeah, I always think, I've said this a lot, but local grandmothers are like the salt of the earth. And like in every country, there'd always be a grandmother that would just come and see me. Or, if I was in a shop buying some groceries and I'd always come out to amazing goodies on my bike. People were just so incredible. But like there would always be a grandmother coming and putting her arm around me and asking if I was okay. Or just check in on me. So I feel like I got a lot of interaction like that. But then the country that sticks to mind when you say that, Albania, I did not see any women at all. That was a really strange
Wow.
experience. Out of everywhere, Albania, I barely saw any women, and it would be groups of men hanging outside coffee shops, and it was a really, I mean, I had a really good time there, but I felt on edge a little bit. With you walk into to go get a coffee, and you're there like being stared at by 20 Albanian men. They were very friendly. Would say hello, but there was never a woman around, and that was interesting. And I asked a few other cyclists that I met, did you feel the same in Albania? And they did. So that was quite interesting. Yeah. And I've done a little bit of research.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know.
Have you figured out why that is, or?
I did listen to some females that live in London, Albanian females, and they were talking about the awful traditional family setups, and that women are really not allowed to, like, almost like don't leave the house a lot. So it was quite an interesting podcast. I'll try and find that so you can link it. But yeah, so I think it's still very male dominant, and the women are in the home looking after the families and not out on the street drinking coffee. It was an interesting, it was the first place I'd felt like that, actually.
I do love, like, something that you mentioned at the start of that was the idea that the grandmothers are just like, they're the salt of the earth, they're the ones that take you in. And I mean, gosh, Claire, like I mentioned, going through all of your posts, the amount of times that there's been an amazing grandma that's taken you in. I'm thinking of like the lovely Mongolian lady with her herd of goats that was milking goats with you. Like, that was amazing. I think it was in, your first day, I'm not sure if it was in Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan, and you're taken in, and, there's a shot of them making beautiful handmade dumplings in front of you and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
In Uzbekistan, they're taking you in. Like, this happened everywhere, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. Like, it's the power of the bike. It's the smile, smiling at people, and just connection that I've always said is why I've done it, and the incredible, and I hope it's two-way. It's not just about me getting somewhere to sleep. It's about me learning about them, and I always tried to, if I had anything in my bag, share what food together, and share a night together. And I hope it's two-way. I hope it's not just me taking a night off. It's getting to talk to young girls in schools and talk to families, and that was the best part of it all.
Claire, I've had the absolute pleasure and privilege of hosting you, and I can say it was like the biggest gift just having you around and hearing your stories and, sharing and all the stuff.
Sharing a ride together. We had a good cycle.
Oh my gosh, how cool was that?
Cool.
And actually, I think the Tour de France is going over the Col d'Aspen next year.
Is it?
Maybe that needs to be our mad adventure. We need to hook up and like camp out on it or something like that.
I'd love to, because remember I went to watch the Tour de France because it was like one of my last days in France. It was going to a town in Boulogne-sur-Mer. Yeah, and I was like, this is so cool, but like I wasn't even in a cool stretch. Like, I want to be up on the mountain passes that you're on and watching it.
That's it. Gosh, the list of things we're doing, Claire. So we're going to Mongolia. We've spoken about crossing the Pyrenees. I've got to do the catamaran ferry crossing with you. I think I've got to come to the Lakes District. We've got to visit a Scottish bothy. Oh my gosh, it's growing. Mountainside on the tour. We're down. I have to laugh though, because it came up in a recent podcast episode. Because do you remember the first day that we met, and oh my gosh, we had vending machine pizza.
Yes, yeah.
for dinner, which I realised how grim some of your food must have been on the trip, because I think you gave it an 8 out of 10. And listeners, I don't know that I could give it more than maybe a 4 or a 5.
It was hot pizza.
At best. It was hot. And I remember it came out really hot too. Remember, we were very excited. But yeah, I remember we got to the Welcome to My Garden. That was the first sort of time, I think, was it the first time you'd used it as well?
I think it might have been, actually, but I ended up using Welcome to My Garden like 20 days out of 20 in France. It was incredible.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like a different type of warm showers. You're more likely pitching your tent or something than anything. But I remember we'd met, and I think we'd gotten there. I think we had our dinner first, and then we went our vending machine pizza, fancy dinner, maybe a drink. And then we went, and the people were showing us around, and then halfway through about to show us around, actually, no, you both need to shower.
Yeah, yeah,
We're
like,
just
you
like, oh,
smell.
gosh.
Yeah, and then we just chatted the whole evening.
Yeah. There was a swing in the garden. I remember that as well. Actually, speaking of showers, though, because obviously it's one thing to joke about it when you've got access to a shower if you're staying in a Welcome to My Garden or somewhere like that, in especially in Western Europe. But crossing Central Asia, where your showers are guaranteed to be cold if you're staying somewhere or it's a river or something. I remember this mad story highlight where you spoke about being at a hairdresser's and they had to get a dreadlock out.
Yeah. That was such a surreal. Like, just finished the Pamir, which is like one of the roughest places. Hadn't showered probably for 2 weeks, and I got to Dushanbe, which is a big capital city, way more developed than you think. Like there was a Hilton there, like that's how developed it is. So I basically went into the Hilton or whatever. Maybe it was one of the one chains, and I wasn't staying there, God no. But I kind of went in all my bike gear, looking rough, and I just said, "Oh, do you have a hair salon?" And they were like, "Yeah, on the 5th floor." So I went up and I was just like, I basically just wanted a good shampoo and conditioner. So I was like, "Could you just wash my hair, basically?" And we like undid my ponytail and it was just dreadlocked. And they were so nice in there. There was a load of other Tajik women and they were all laughing. They were like, "Where have you been?" So I said the places I'd been. They were all just really invested in getting this dreadlock out of my hair. And they did it. And then to top it off, I was just asked for a wash. And then he got the straighteners out and he gave me a full hairdo, like curled my hair, everything. So I was wearing all my cycling gear and I just had a full hairdo, looking like I was going to a wedding or something. I went back to the hostel and Felix, who had obviously just done the 2 weeks with me, was like, "Bloody hell, you have hair." And like he just couldn't believe what I looked like, and it was just a really weird, surreal moment in Tajikistan, of all places. But again, really, really funny.
Oh my gosh, it would have been.
It was so weird.
Yeah, because the Pamirs and crossing the Pamirs, that was never necessarily a thing you were definitely doing. Like you were definitely going through Mongolia, you were definitely going to get all the way to the UK, but your route was flexible because of that idea that being in Tajikistan in October at that time of the year to cross the Pamirs wasn't necessarily potentially doable. And I think also for you to get the visa, didn't it take 3 times to get it?
Yeah, the visa was odd. This is the kind of way I mean, like I was pretty unprepared. Like I didn't really know which way I was going. So yeah, everything was up in the air. Yeah, Tajikistan, the visa I did apply for it twice on my own, thinking I was going to do it on my own. And I just kept getting rejected. But basically, I was just ticking like one thing wrong on the website. You have to get the visa and then you have to get a permit to do the Pamir Highway. But basically, the visa website give you an option to get the permit together. And I ticked that box thinking that was normal. Basically, did that twice, rejected. The third time, I didn't tick that box because someone had told me this bit of information. And I got accepted. And then I bought my permit separately. So I don't know if anyone's listened to this and ever goes to Tajikistan. That might be a tip because that helped. And then I got approved. And I was in a hostel, which like every cyclist in Kyrgyzstan stays at in Osh. And that's where people had just finished and they were like, "It's so hard." They looked broken. Like people had just finished. And I was like, "Oh my God, like, do I want to do this?" And then, yeah, I just met this crazy guy in shorts who was like, "I'm going." And like, it was his first ever bike tour. And he was just so chilled. And I was like, "I think I'm going to go with you." So we did it together.
And you had a mad adventure, didn't you?
Mad, yeah. I'm not sure. Like, I think I could have done it on my own. It just wouldn't have been half as fun. And to have someone there going, actually, I mean, look, it was dangerous. Some of it was dangerous conditions. And to have someone else with you to be like, "Yeah, we're okay," was definitely helpful.
It sort of also halves the mental load, I think. And also, I'm not saying it halves the risk, but it feels like you're sharing the risk together. Like if something goes wrong, someone else is there to potentially help out. You've also got that awesome balance of someone's having a bad day, the other person can be the boost,
Yeah.
vice versa as well.
Yeah.
I think that would be the ultimate benefit on doing that. Like I've certainly interviewed people who've done it solo. Power to them. Everyone who I've interviewed, power to all of you. You're all awesome in my mind. But I can definitely see that, Claire. Like I 100% know that you have everything required to do that on your own. And I 100% can see why also choosing not to do it on your own is an awesome choice as well.
Yeah, no, like I've never really ridden with anyone longer than a few days. So to have 2 weeks with someone, I was like, like I hope this is the right thing to do. But he was awesome. He was really chilled. He actually got very sick, so I did end up doing about days alone.
And you did them.
Yeah. I mean, people get sick in Tajikistan with we think our water filters got frozen, but he was really ill, so he had to hitchhike. There was actually a day where he basically got too cold and like basically just froze like up really high. So that was so lucky that there were two of us, because we had to get him in a tent and warm him up, and like that was quite a scary moment. So yeah, and just for the enjoyment and being able to share that view with someone. Or I mean, the corrugation on the Wakhan corridor is awful. You probably interviewed people about that, but you were just going like this for like 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and it drives you mad. But like me and him were just honestly just screaming, like both of us, just like, what is happening? And just being able to share the hardness together was really cool.
I mean, apart from mentally breaking with the corrugations, I'm always worried like bits of your bike or something are going to break under those sort of constant batterings as well. Did you have equipment problems on the Pamirs?
I don't think I did. No, I was worried because that was it. I think I was still on like a 10 quid Chinese tyre. I wasn't on the tyre I was supposed to be on my back.
Oh, yeah, because a few days into your trip, one of your brand new tyres had a bulge in it, didn't it?
Yeah.
So that's why you were on the £10 cheapie?
Yeah, so the Chinese one did really well. And then I had my friends had shipped one to Uzbekistan or something like that. So I knew there was one at the end of the Pamir. So I think I carried an extra one on the Pamir, like a really, really bad, another just cheapy one that I could find. So I was quite nervous about that. But it did fine. Somehow I didn't get one puncture on the Pamir or anything, which was lucky.
Yeah, I mean, if I think of equipment breakages, your pedal coming off in China would have to be up there as something that
was like
stressful.
That was game over, I thought.
That was. I remember seeing the sequence in real time. Well, not real time, but at the time, posting it up, going, "Oh no!" And like the mental load and emotionally, it was not great.
Yeah.
But I think then also, I don't know where it was in your trip, and I don't know whether you'd already turned back to the UK at this point for the intermission or not. But the eyelets on your front fork or the rack or something had broken as well, hadn't it?
Yeah, I don't know where that was. Maybe that was Greece. No, I can't remember where that was. But yeah, basically and I saw it happen to someone recently. The bolts of the Ortley bags, it just ripped off. Yeah, so on a steel frame, which is kind of crazy. But Surly sent me a new frame, a new fork, which is really cool. So yeah, but I want to do something with the old forks. It's got like holes and it's got because I got it welded it was in Turkey. I got it welded by a Turkish guy. So he filled in the hole, and I just had to turn around. Like he's just literally like that flame is on my fork, and I just had to turn around and let him do it. It looks really cool now. The fork's got some like burnt out welding and.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was thinking you need to get like some funky artwork of your tour on that fork. Like, I don't know. I'm thinking, listeners, maybe we can inspire Claire, like maybe a line of the route you took, maybe.
Yeah, I saw someone make it like into a seat. I was like, a bar stool. I was like, that's quite cool.
Oh, that's cool.
That's quite cool. So yeah. So no, a lot of equipment failures.
Were they the worst? I'm trying to think of.
Yeah. Oh no, my worst was the last 2 days in England. That I didn't think I was going to finish.
Oh my gosh!
My back wheel,
yes,
I had to run with my bike to my friend's house. Like I was running about 6K. I did at the end because my whole back wheel buckled. Something inside completely. Took it to a bike shop that night, and he was like, "You're not going to be able to ride. You need a whole new wheel."
Was it the free hub had broken?
So they didn't. He showed me, and it all had deteriorated inside over time. Like he was like, "How have you been riding this for so long?"
All those Mongolian river crossings have caught up with you?
Yeah, but 200 quid on the last day. I was like, no, 200 quid new wheel. But everyone was meeting me in London, so I was like, I'm just going to have to do it. And yeah, but it was a really funny, like, my friend came to meet me off the boat, so he did the last 6 days with me, and he is a mechanic, like he's engineer mind. He thinks I'm crazy. Like he's like, you barely know how to fix the puncture and you've just cycled around the world. He cannot fathom that I would have left without knowing all of this. He's one of those guys that needs to know everything, which is great.
But I just need to know that there are people like you, Claire, that prove that we don't.
Yeah, but honestly, my bike was breaking every day and he was like losing his mind. I was like, it's fine. And he was like, it's not fine. And like he tried to fix it every day and we just couldn't. So yeah, I basically just say I limped home and I don't think I was stressed. Like I was having fun, but I'm really tired. I think I had the 40 degrees and then I had the sick on, vomiting on the sailboat and my mouth just deteriorated. Like I got really awful ulcers and I arrived at the finish line and one of my friends was like, Claire, you look really awful. You need to sleep. And I was like, yeah, I do. But, that's the way you've got to finish a trip, isn't it?
It was like your bike and you.
Bike and body, I think, knew.
Your bike was like, no, you took too many rest days and we were meant to finish 2 days ago or something like that. But I mean, we do talk about the extremes here, and I don't want to just talk about the highs and the lows, but those high temperatures that you rode through in France, that was no joke. I remember going through that heat wave myself, and it was intense for the whole country for weeks. I remember actually, it was also sunflower season, and I remember it was just like a flooding of sunflowers on your stories, like, yay, like they would cheer you up.
That was like the only thing.
Yeah, but also you had the moments where you'd come across like the farm paddocks that had the irrigation running, like the water sprinklers running, and you would just stand under them or something, didn't you?
Yeah, and then the old village baths that had water in them, I'd jump, what are they called? The
fountains, the laverays, the old wash baths, absolutely.
I'd just lie in those, yeah.
They're a gem. And actually, we were talking about Welcome to Your Garden. You had some awesome Welcome to Your Gardens that had like a pool and stuff too, didn't you?
I had some really nice Welcome to My Gardens that it was quite a new app. So a lot of the people had never ever had someone. And then they had me in the middle of the heat wave and they were like, you're not sleeping in your tent. And like, it's supposed to be just like, have some grass and put your tent up outside. I think like half of them I was invited inside, fed, had showers, like again, insane kindness, which was incredible. So I've actually I'm on warm showers at the moment. I'm still waiting for my first guest, but it is winter. So, but like, I just still feel like I have a lifetime of kindness to give. So like, yeah, I've got a spare room. So if anyone wants to come and cycle and stay the night, I'm like, I owe that to a lot of people.
I'm totally doing it when it's a bit warmer, Claire.
Yeah.
Recently, actually, because I recently released 150 full-length episodes of the pod. If I count midweek episodes, if I count the midweek little ones, I think we're nearly up at 250. But anyway, put that little factoid aside. Something that I did was take the time to reflect on all those amazing conversations I've had with people like yourself and look at the common themes. And one of them is sort of what you've hinted at, is that taking these journeys makes you realise how much kindness there is in the world. The people who have the least give you the most, the acts of kindness from complete strangers, which means that you return and finish these adventures with an extreme sense of wanting to pay it forward yourself. And that's sort of what you're talking about as well, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Like I have loads of ideas. Like I want to pay it forward and I want to get other women out doing big adventures. I'd love to give my bike to someone if they want to cycle, a woman, if they want to cycle around the world. Like I want to, like I'm so glad I came into cycling later on in my 20s, but like I really didn't, I had Dervla Murphy and I had a few role models, and now you've made this incredible resource of podcasts is insane. But like I want young women to like know that they can go and give it a go. So like I want to pay it forward in that sense. I want to get other women outside. But also in everyday life, I just think just be kind and pay it forward in different ways. So yeah, there's loads of ways I'm trying to do it, volunteering, little things like that. So yeah, just trying to give off what I've been given in this lifetime. It's going to be hard to give back as much as I've been given, but I'm trying.
Yeah, I often wonder, and it's nothing to do with ability or fitness or preparedness, but I often wonder with these big journeys, how much of them would come to a grinding halt if there were no acts of kindness from strangers? Sometimes, like it's a different flip on it, isn't it? Like how many times has something gone wrong and it's through the pure act of kindness from some people who've gone way over and above and beyond that have helped people just keep going?
Yeah, there's just so much. I mean, there's so many moments where I remember, especially one in Australia, I was like deep on a desert stretch and just a random car stopped and they just had a cooler of like cold drinks and like even just a cold drink. I just don't think mentally I would have carried on that day and then that stranger stops you and says, "How are you doing? Do you need, what are you doing?" And interested, and just a tiny act like that just made me carry on for another 100K. Do you know what I mean? So it's just, and that's just minimal. There's
Yeah.
just so many examples, and yeah, I think you're completely right. I think every bike tour relies on kindness, 100%, which is, again, you shouldn't expect it, but it's incredible that people open their doors and offer you a safe place. But I think that's especially, I think more in Central Asia, it's really like, you're a tired traveler, we're going to help you, like the nomads, and they know how harsh the conditions are. So I think there is this like, you're safe here. That's how I felt. I felt like I was only ever going to be treated with kindness. They were like, you're safe here. We know it's, we know what you've just done to get here. That's how I kind of see it, which is incredible.
But also, there is that cultural element of Central Asia being an area where nomads did go through, or travellers on long journeys did go through. I mean, we're talking about the route of the old Silk Road. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we have to talk about Uzbekistan, the mega old Silk Road cities that you went through. I think, if I recall, Claire, after the fact, you said Uzbekistan, definitely a country you should travel to, maybe not necessarily on a bike.
Yeah.
But those cities looked absolutely mega. I guess there's lots of dirt, desert in between them to traverse on a bike, right? Like that, and you were there do you think your view on it actually would have been different, say, if it was warmer? Because you had a lot of cold rain during Uzbekistan, didn't you?
Yeah, I think that stretches for anyone is a difficult, it's about 1,200. Yeah. Mentally, and it's like, okay, you've really got to get into the zone for that stretch. But the cities, wow, yeah. When you, like, I remember doing a 200K day, again, miserable conditions. The road was awful, but then I ended up in Khiva and I took a couple of days off, and you're in this ancient city. Didn't see, I think there was one other bike traveler, actually, an American guy, no other tourists, because it was cold winter month. And I remember we went out for dinner, and then after, just like in the night, it was all lit up. And I arrived at nighttime as well, and it was just it's just spectacular. So it was all worth the hard work to get there. But yeah, that road is quite something, because you then got the Kazakhstan stretch as well. Yeah, Khiva, Bukhara is a beautiful ancient town. So yeah, I could have stayed there I think I did stay in Bukhara for 3 or 4 days, because it was just so beautiful.
Yeah, and then is there Samarkand as well?
Yeah, Samarkand,
is that in Uzbekistan?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. After the Pamir, it's quite something. Like, you finish Tajikistan and then you get into Uzbekistan, and it's like, it's so different to what you've just been in. So it's quite something, like coming into Samarkand, seeing all these incredible mosaics after just being in like corrugation, sandy, snowy Tajikistan. It's really very, very different countries.
So different and so stark. Can I ask, how big are these cities? Like, do we call them cities? Like, I know the architecture is old and ancient, but is there a huge population around them? Like, are we talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands? Like, population-wise, just as a guess?
Yeah, Samarkand is a bigger. The other two aren't very big, no. Like, Khiva's pretty small. It's just like this small ancient city. And that's what makes it quite cool, because you just like rock up to it and you're like, wow, like this is really in the middle of nowhere. But I do think they're going to become more and more. I mean, Uzbekistan's always been a touristy place, but I think it's stunning. I think more and more people will go. As I said, I'm not sure cycling wise it's the best riding, but it's worth it for the cities.
I've only come across one person that I've interviewed in this entire show. I'm pretty sure it's only one person who's come out of the riding in Uzbekistan saying they absolutely enjoyed it, and
Really?
that's Ollie Hargreaves.
Oh wow!
It was during one of his updates that he gave me, and he said he was surprised by it because everyone tells him, "Oh, it's the desert section. It's all same. It's all nothing to see." And I guess in pieces that would be unique, and a starry night or something like that, or a big sunset or something would be amazing. But I guess for so many hundreds and hundreds of kilometres, it gets a bit samey. But no, he said that he really, really enjoyed it. And he's the only person I'm fairly confident in saying that has told me that they enjoyed that section. There may be others who didn't dislike it, but there's a difference. There's a difference between I didn't dislike it and I got on with it with I really liked it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I don't regret doing it. I think you always get something from any experience, and the camels, and like you said, there was enough to make it interesting. But I'm not sure I would. Yeah, I'm not sure I'd say I loved it.
Yeah, and I guess the other way to look at it is, we talk about going back to Mongolia, but if you reflect back on the journey, where are the places that you 100% wouldn't even think twice to go back to? And where does the desert section of Uzbekistan fit on that list?
Yeah, very low. Very low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the countries, Mongolia aside, what are the places that you would, if life gave you the opportunity, you'd go back to?
Oh, that's so hard.
And are there places that you'd love to go back to with different circumstances? And maybe that's I'd like to go the other way. Maybe that's I had a bad run of weather here and I'd love to see what it's like in, sunshine. Or I'd like to go back there with people.
Yeah, I'd made a little list because I was like, there are places I would love to go back to. Kyrgyzstan, I think, is incredible, and I think I rushed it because I was trying to get to Tajikistan for the Pamirs. In the back of my mind, I was like, well, don't hang about here because maybe winter's not come yet. And I had some fantastic gravel riding there. And I've met a group called Sisters in the Wild, and they have a tour there. So
they're brilliant.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe if I can afford it, to go out with a group of women would be incredible. Yeah, other places. Yeah, Mongolia, obviously, absolutely. I feel like even though I did 2,000, 3,000 K there, I still feel like I touched the surface. And then there's smaller places in Greece, I stumbled across Meteora, which is just incredible.
Oh, yeah. The hilltop monasteries, right?
Yeah. And I'm I didn't even know it was there. And then I didn't have a rest day there. And that's my biggest regret. I was I wish I took a few days off there, climbed up to see the monasteries. The weather was maybe a bit bad. That's why I didn't. So I've been talking about that a lot. And I said that to a friend. It doesn't necessarily have to be on a bike. I'd quite like to go back and just do a long weekend there. So there's Slovenia. There's very few countries I wouldn't go back to.
Yeah, because it's always one of those things, and I've spoken about it with people with this sort of... It was something, I think I've mentioned it on a recent episode, my husband's uncle Noel. I remember when my husband and we cycled across the Pyrenees, and it was something that his uncle had done, I think it was way back in 1989 or 1990. And I remember when we were doing it at the time, it was awesome for him because it was bringing back all of his memories. And when we'd finished, we had a phone call chat about it, and we were talking about the idea, would you do it again? And something that he said really stayed with me, and it was an amazing memory and a great experience, and I don't need to go back there and change that.
Yeah.
That can just be the great experience that I had there. And I remember that's always something that's stuck in my head about it, because I think there's places that we often just would jump at a heartbeat to go back to over and over again, but there are places that maybe they were so brilliant, so unique, that just needs to be how it is. And
100%, yeah.
I guess on the other side of it, Claire, do you ever think there's so many places I haven't been to yet? If I go back here for 3 weeks, then I could, imagine if I had 3 weeks and I could go somewhere new.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about those sort of things?
Oh yeah, 100%.
What a privileged thing to ask.
Yeah, no, I've been definitely yearning for the mountain passes in Kyrgyzstan, but then I see Chile and Peru and Patagonia where I haven't been, and I'm that probably excites me more to go and do somewhere new.
Can I just say, when you do that, make sure you're heading north to south, not south to north.
Yeah. No, I've heard the winds, right?
Oh my gosh, it's an extra level up on the headwinds. And I actually think, the benefit of interviewing so many people is, gosh, have I learnt about prevailing winds and weather and climate systems all around the world. But I don't think anywhere rivals the Patagonian headwinds yet. Yeah. I think that's the most extreme headwinds I've had spoken about.
No.
And I mean, Australia's got some pretty nasty ones on the Nullarbor, and Mongolia is notoriously known as being really windy as well. But yeah, Patagonia, I think, wins hands down.
Really? Oh, no.
and especially if you're heading north.
Yeah, no, I've listened.
I mean, I think you're guaranteed to get headwinds every day somewhere, right? But
no,
north seems to be worse.
No. Had enough headwinds for life.
All right, listeners, I hope you've been enjoying my chat with Claire. That is the end of part 1. Stay tuned next week for part 2 as we continue this monumental adventure from Mongolia all the way back to the UK. Next week, Claire also shares some practical tips and advice that she has garnered from her journey so far. So if you're someone that's keen on getting into this style of adventure, you definitely want to be tuning in. Thank you so much, Claire, for affording me so much of your time to share your story. Now, listeners, if you love these type of episodes and you want to see them continue week in, week out, you can help support the podcast. Simply head to buymeacoffee.com/Seek Travel Ride. Buy me a virtual coffee, but more importantly, let me know what is it that you are loving about this podcast and where is your next adventure going to take you. And until the next episode, I'm Bella Malloy. Thanks for listening.